From the outside, Muhammad Ali seemed untouchable. The man who shook up the world, the fighter who defied governments, humiliated champions, and inspired billions, had always appeared larger than life, a symbol of strength, defiance, and unbreakable will. But behind the bright cameras, behind the roaring crowds and the rhythmic poetry of his trash talk, there were truths Ali never allowed the world to see. Truths hidden behind the charisma, the courage, and the championship belts. Truths that only fully surfaced when the spotlight faded, and the greatest boxer on earth found himself battling an opponent far more cruel than Joe Frazier, George Foreman, or Sonny Liston ever were. Before we go deep into this story, stay with me to the end, because the truth about Muhammad Ali's life, greatness, sacrifice, and tragic decline is far more heartbreaking, far more powerful, and far more important than anyone dared to admit while he was still able to speak. Ali's journey begins long before the world called him the greatest. Born Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. In Louisville, Kentucky, he came from a working-class family who struggled through segregation and racial oppression. Ali discovered boxing at just 12 years old, not because he dreamed of becoming a champion, but because his bicycle was stolen. Angry and helpless, he told a police officer he wanted to whoop the thief. The officer happened to be a boxing coach. This moment of pure childhood frustration became the spark that ignited one of the most legendary careers in sports history. Ali's early life was defined by poverty, discrimination, and constant reminders that society did not expect much from young black men like him. But Ali refused to accept those limits. Even as a teenager, he proclaimed he would become the heavyweight champion of the world. And he said it so loudly, so confidently, that people started believing him before the wins ever came. By 1964, Ali shocked the world by defeating Sonny Liston, a man seen as unbeatable. That night, Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali after converting to Islam and joining the Nation of Islam. This decision, while deeply meaningful to him, turned much of white America against him, and even many black Americans questioned his path. But Ali never cared about public approval. He stood by his beliefs even when they cost him everything. And this is the part of Ali's story people forget. His true battles weren't only in the ring. They were political, cultural, and deeply personal. In 1967, when the U.S. government demanded he join the military and fight in Vietnam, Ali refused, not because he feared war, but because he believed it was morally wrong. His iconic words still echo through history. "I ain't got no quarrel with them, Viet Cong." For that stance, the American government stripped him of his heavyweight title, banned him from boxing for over 3 years, and threatened him with prison. At the height of his youth, skill, and speed, Ali was legally forbidden from stepping into the ring. The hidden truth here is that this exile cost him more than championships. It cost him his prime. Those 3 years, the years when a fighter is fastest, sharpest, and strongest, were taken away, not by injury or defeat, but by politics and punishment. When Ali returned in 1970, he was still incredible, still gifted, but he was not the same blur-fast, untouchable phenomenon he once was. His legs were slower, his reflexes dulled by time. He compensated with heart, bravery, and extraordinary toughness. But this adaptation came with a devastating price. Because after his return, Ali began taking enormous amounts of damage in fights that would become both legendary and catastrophic. His trilogy with Joe Frazier is remembered as the greatest rivalry in boxing history. But it also left both men permanently changed. Their first fight in 1971, the fight of the century, was a 15-round war, where Ali absorbed hundreds of brutal shots, especially to the head. He lost that fight, but the punishment accumulated. Their final meeting, the Thrilla in Manila in 1975, was the closest thing boxing has ever seen to a death match. The temperature inside the arena reached nearly 50 degrees Celsius. Both men fought until complete exhaustion, both near collapse. Ali later said it was the closest he had ever felt to dying. After the fight, he reportedly urinated blood for days. He couldn't walk to the locker room without assistance. Doctors would later explain that fights like this, repeated over years, inflicted immeasurable neurological damage. A silent disease brewing long before anyone knew the name Parkinson's. Then came the Rumble in the Jungle in 1974, where Ali faced the terrifying George Foreman. To beat him, Ali used the now famous rope-a-dope strategy, deliberately absorbing Foreman's punches to tire him out. It worked, but the cost was severe. Every punch Ali took that night brought him one step closer to the neurological decline that would eventually reshape, then silence, his voice. Ali won the fight, regained his title, and added to his legend. But behind the glory, damage was quietly accumulating with every blow. As Ali aged, his career extended into years when he should have walked away. His team, promoters, and even the fans kept urging him forward. He fought through the late 1970s when his speed was gone, his reflexes dimmed, and his body was screaming for rest. The fights against Ernie Shavers, Ken Norton, and Larry Holmes demonstrated a painful truth. Ali was no longer a world-class heavyweight. He was a legend stubbornly refusing to accept that his time had passed. The Holmes fight in 1980 was especially tragic. Ali took such a beating that even his trainer, Angelo Dundee, considered stopping the fight earlier. Afterward, doctors found significant signs of neurological damage. Slurred speech, slowed movement, delayed reflexes, all symptoms of what would soon be diagnosed as Parkinson's syndrome. At just 42 years old, the most eloquent, vibrant, and charismatic champion the world had ever known was losing his ability to speak clearly. His hands trembled, his movements slowed. The man who once danced effortlessly around giants now struggled to walk. What makes this story even more heartbreaking is that Ali kept fighting the disease publicly. He refused to hide. He appeared in interviews, talk shows, and public events despite the visible challenges. Many people misunderstood his condition, thinking Parkinson's was caused entirely by boxing. In reality, it was likely a combination of genetic vulnerability and the physical trauma he endured. But there is no denying that years of punishment accelerated the disease dramatically. And yet, even in decline, Ali inspired millions. When he lit the Olympic torch at the 1996 Atlanta Games, his hands shaking uncontrollably, the entire world cried. The moment was not about weakness. It was about courage, about a man showing himself exactly as he was, despite the pain, despite the decline, despite everything he had lost. Ali's final decades were filled with both suffering and resilience. He could barely talk, but when he did, people listened. He could barely move, but every movement carried meaning. He became a global humanitarian, advocating for peace, charity, and justice. He visited hospitals, supported countless causes, and proved that greatness has nothing to do with physical strength, and everything to do with spirit. Muhammad Ali passed away in 2016 after a long, difficult battle with illness. But the tragic truth hidden behind his legend is this: Muhammad Ali sacrificed his health, his youth, his voice, and eventually his body for greatness. And for us. He gave the world everything he had. Every punch he took, every stand he made, every risk he embraced, came with a price that only he had to pay. His decline was heartbreaking, but his courage in facing it was nothing short of heroic. In the end, Muhammad Ali remained exactly what he always claimed to be. Not perfect, not invincible, but undeniably the greatest.